Here's the Deal is brought to you by VEBS, Veteran Essential Business Services. We are your business air support. We have your six. You served your country faithfully. Now it's time to blaze your own path. Here's the Deal is a show for veterans, by veterans, to discuss real-world issues on how to start and run your own business. It's a cross between Dave Ramsey, Maria Bartiromo, and Joe Rogan. This is not academia. It's the truth. Here's the deal. Everybody, what's going on? It's your boy Chris Flowers, and we are reintroducing, relaunching Here's the Deal, the podcast for veterans by veterans. But we're also just not strictly veterans. We're also, for civilians too, but most part, it's a veteran thing, as you can see behind me back here. So for those of you that are new to the show, my name is Chris Flowers. I spent 8 years in the United States military between the Air Force and the Army. I was a security specialist. Now they call it security forces in the Air Force. And then I went over to be a forward observer, an FO 13 Foxtrot fist type in the Army. So, and then I went into 25 years of business banking. So real smooth transition, easy, right? Sure. So what we're here to do on Here's the Deal is that we're trying to inspire veterans to follow their own passions, to blaze their own paths, right? So a lot of us don't fit into corporate America. Like I said, obviously it was not a smooth transition going over from being in two combat MOSs to going over into banking. Okay, was not a smooth transition. But I was motivated enough, wanted to do it, therefore turned into a 25-year career. So again, it's one of those things, and I didn't have TAPS programs or anything like that back in the day. I had none of that. So the advantages that we have now as opposed to what some of us had in the past are obviously much greater, but I'm here to really give those who are looking to start their own businesses or things like that. I want to give you the steps and the tools over the 25 years in business banking that I've seen. I've helped hundreds of people start up their own businesses, but I've also seen hundreds of people screw it up by, in the very first podcast. I may have to revisit this again since we're launching all new. Excuse me. We talked about not going Cortez and burning the ships, like quitting your job and cashing in your 401k and maxing out your credit cards and your home equity, things like that. Those are things you do not want to do. There is lending called SBA lending, and it's pre-revenue based. Okay, so that means you can lend off the projections. You're going to say, okay, with this loan, I can do X amount of business, which is going to be X amount of profitability, so on and so on. These are things that, stuff like this is the stuff that we cover on the show. Then I also bring in experts in these fields of, things that business owners, like, it's essential for business ownership. Commercial real estate, whether you want to lease space, whether you want to buy space, transitioning from leasing to buying, which is always something that I encourage. My customers may start out in a lease, but you also definitely want to look to buy as a retirement strategy, things like that. But then also other experts in fields of like bookkeeping and social media marketing and payroll. So we're going to have all kinds of experts coming in. We're going to talk to all different kinds of COIs, centers of influence. We're also going to talk to veteran business owners that successfully started their own businesses, so that way you can hear from them, what they did. And a lot of the people that I'm going to bring on board that are COIs are actually veterans. So again, it's a pretty veteran-based podcast, but at the same time, all these tips are for anybody, civilians, veterans, whatever. These are just some of the things that we're going to cover. But then also what, a lot of us aspire to as well, is like, so we're very big on the Second Amendment, things that are going on in the 2A world. So I'll probably get into some of those things on the podcast, what's going on and what's currently in like legislation and what's going on with your rights and things like that. And then, let's get, Connecticut Huskies of ladies are going for Gino's 12th national championship tonight, so it's a pretty incredible March Madness. The men didn't even show up. They made the tournament at least, and that's the first time they were even probably eligible to make the tournament because they were They made some recruiting violations, so they were on suspension for a while. But now we're back. Okay, we got a great young team on the men's side. We got a great young team on the women's side. A women's backcourt, I'm telling you, between Fudd and Beckers is ridiculous. Okay, so if you haven't watched a UConn basketball game, especially the women, watch tonight because this is going to be awesome. And that girl Boston from South Carolina, ridiculous. She's like a female Giannis. She's sick, right? So it's going to be a pretty damn good game today. So, but by the time you hear this, the game's going to be over. But at the same time, it's going to be. These are just some of the things. But I cover some sport. I'm probably going to cover some sports on the podcast as well. Switch it up a little bit. Like I said, before it was kind of like strictly business, things like that, which we're going to be doing most of the time. But at the same time, like I said, we're going to maybe cover some other things like different legislation that affects veterans. So I'm in what's called the Air Force Sergeants Association as well. So a lot of that is lobbying on Capitol Hill for veterans' rights and veterans benefits, but then also what's going on in the 2A world, and just to, like I said, protect our rights and get people a little more educated in that as well. So these are some of the things that we're going to be doing. Lots happen. Like I said, obviously we have technology now. Like I said, I've been trying to get this video thing set up, and I went through all these kind of hassles and crazy. Don't get me wrong. That Adobe Creative thing, I know it works great because the guys in my church do it. And they were trying to show me how to do it. Way up here, couldn't deal. This is simply iMovie. Okay, so I got a Mac, got iMovie, bam, did everything I wanted to do. Now, it's robust enough for me, like being, Mr. Low Tech guy, not necessarily the highest tech guy in the world, but if it was simple enough for me to use, you can do it too. That's just one of the things. I've been trying to get video on this thing forever, so we're gonna have a YouTube channel. Gonna put this on like Insta TV, things like that. So just different. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. We started the show in 21, and I said it was going along. Things were okay, but I got caught up. It was my fault. I wanted to do this video emergence thing so bad. It's like I let things slip by because I couldn't get it to go right, things like that, and that was on me. So I had to kind of roll with the punches and learned, like, okay. And like I said, my friend Mario, who's the host of Fallen 360, he's like, dude, just start doing the freaking podcast, man. It's like, quit bullshitting. So here we are. But like I said, this is the one thing I've always wanted, was a video section. With this mug, I don't know why, but just wanted to do it because I know it's important for getting the message out there. Like I said, fortunately, you got to look at this. Well, that's your problem. So I just wanted to get that was so fixated on that one thing that I let the whole show fall apart. And and you can use that in a business too. Like I said, you can't get so focused on one little aspect of it that you let the whole business shut down because you can't perfect this one thing. The show's got to go on, like they said. So I should have been at least doing the audio portions while I was trying to figure the video portion out. So again, that's back. I had to learn not only from the mistakes that I've seen in the business banking world of business people doing businesses, but also learn from my mistakes also, like things like that. So these are just some of the things that I said we do on this show, and these are some of the things that like I said, the interviews we're going to do. Sometimes, again, it's a veteran show. Language might get a little salty every once in a while. Try to keep that, I'll keep it a little more to adult war this time around because, I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm trying to work on my language portion, but I am a veteran. I get around other veterans. I just get super comfortable. And especially if I'm talking to Mario, forget about it. Me and him, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So I'll kind of like pre-apologize. Maybe he gets offended. Don't listen. And then there you go. But I still love Jesus more than anybody you probably know. So you're a Christian? Yes, I am. And there's nothing you can do about it because Jesus already said I'm good. So deal with that. All right. So moving forward. This is just some of the topics that like I said we're going to cover. And then, of course, I'm going to be talking to different people, and you can always message me if you see me on Insta or, anything like that, YouTube. Let's say, message me, say, hey, I want to learn about this. I want to hear about this. I'm always open to those suggestions too. I want to make sure we're giving the people what they want. So I want to make sure that you guys are hearing the content you guys want to hear. I know a lot of different people. I'm going to be meeting a lot of different people. Like I said, it could be here in Arizona. We're based here in Arizona, so I know a lot of local, state, representatives, and from different cities and things like that. Let's say, so things that are going on locally here in Arizona. But then, like I said, also trying to, like I said, I got some, reaching the federal as well. So, like I said, maybe I can get some different people on from different campaigns, different offices to get their people to come on and just, talk a little more and things like that. So, stay tuned. Like I said, this one's going to be pretty brief, but like I said, stay tuned because we're going to have some interesting content coming up. Like I said, going to do a lot of good interviews, just like we did the interviews in the past. We're going to get those interviews back up and running, and then, like I said, I might even throw a little sports in there every once in a while. Like I said, obviously the Suns are kicking ass. Now, granted, okay, full disclosure, born and raised Knicks fan. It is what it is. I might, me and like Spike might be the last two left. I don't know, but I've said, I appreciate, obviously my wife tells me I'm a Suns fan all the time, and I probably am because I know probably more about them than I actually do the Knicks now, living out here for 25 years. But yeah, so like I said, Suns got the top record in NBA, and obviously we'll be probably doing a lot of that during the playoffs and stuff like that too. And but no, I've tried so many times to get behind the Diamondbacks and the Coyotes, and I just can't. Let's say unless it's the Rangers or what I'm saying, or the Yankees, I can't do it. I just can't seem to. I tried to, like I said, local teams like the Cardinals. What I'm saying, it's like I like them, but I'm a Giants fan, born and raised. It is what it is. And although for a while there, I rebelled and was like a Chicago Bears fan during like the Walter Payton days, but I did that probably more to piss my dad. I just was a big Walter Payton fan. That's really what it was. I just loved Walter Payton, and Jim McMahon was pretty cool too. But just as I think it was more of a Walter Payton fan than anything else. But again, we're back. It's been a while, been a long time. Should have left you without a dope beat step 2. You know what I'm saying? But we're back. We're gonna be putting the show out. And like I said, if you dig it, cool. If you don't, turn the station, do what you got to do. But we're back, and we're going to make the show better than ever. But like I said, here's the deal, okay? That's it. That's been my phrase since like I was a kid. Okay, here's the deal. And once I started saying here's the deal, and I didn't even notice I did that. My boys were like, oh boy. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, whenever you say that, something about to go down. Could be, although I don't fight anymore or things like that. But usually I said, stuff was about to go down. But when I say, here's the deal, stay tuned. Because like I said, something about to go down. So as always, when we sign up, I say, stay tuned, stay motivated. Okay? Because it's going down.